Welcome back to Steel City Sports. So today we're going to be finishing off our coverage of Wild Card Weekend. So I ultimately went 3-3 with my picks. I started off Saturday perfect 2-0. I picked both the Texans and the Chiefs. And then Saturday I went 0-2 because I had the Cowboys beating the Packers. That was wrong. And then I had the Rams beating the Lions. That was wrong. And then Monday I went 1-1. I think one of the easier ones, of course, I did predict the Bills to beat my Steelers. I was correct. And then I had the Eagles beating the Buccaneers, so I was wrong about that. So obviously we're going to talk about last night's two games, Bills, Steelers, Bucks, Eagles. I got a lot to say about these two games because the first one, of course, the Steelers are my team. And then, of course, the second game, the Eagles completed one of the greatest collapses, I think, in the history of sports. I mean, I've never seen a Super Bowl team implode this fast. I've seen teams go to the Super Bowl and then the year after they're just not the same. But that's not what happened with the Eagles because they were 10-1 and they still looked like they were on top of the world. Not long ago, Jalen Hurts was in the MVP conversation. Then they go 1-7 to finish off their year. So we're going to talk about all that now. Let's start with the first game, though, the Bills-Steelers game. My Steelers. So like I said, I didn't really have much confidence in the Steelers winning this game to begin with. I thought had TJ Watt played, we might have had like a 5 or 10% chance to win this game, a puncher's chance. But with him out, I said there's 0 chance we win this game with just how red hot Josh Allen and the team has played overall. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, the first half of this game was hard to watch for me. It was essentially equivalent to dumping bleach in my eyeballs because watching the defense play was painful. You know, the Steelers' defense was dreadfully awful. And I know we've been decimated by injuries. We just talked about TJ Watt, but also the linebacker core has been decimated this year. You know, Miles Jack was sitting on his couch this year. He was retired. He was out of the NFL. And we just had so many injuries at the linebacker position that we had to bring him back just because he was familiar with the playbook. He played with us last year. Let's bring him back. It's clear the Bills, they had a pretty good game plan because it felt like they were going at Miles Jack in coverage the entire game, especially in that first half with their tight ends. And they were finding a lot of success with that because, I don't know, like especially the Bills' first drive, I felt like it was essentially equivalent to us just having nobody on the field. Like, that's how terrible our defense looked in the first half. And I can't remember the exact score, what it was going into halftime. I just can't remember. I think it was like 21-0, or maybe we scored by then. But it was brutal, that first half. The second half, things did get better. Mike Tomlin made some adjustments. The defense definitely played a lot better. The offense looked a lot better. And we did actually give the Bills a little bit of a fight in the second half of this game because the Bills, with about 10 minutes left in this game, only had a 1-score lead. And I still didn't think we'd win, but I was like, this is actually a game now. There's a little bit of pressure on the Bills here now that this is kind of a close game. But Josh Allen, we've talked about him all this year long. He's just sensational. I mean, he is a generational level talent. His ability to have that cannon of an arm he has, and then also has like high-end athleticism and can break off for a 52-yard touchdown like he did in this game, is really unmatched in the NFL. I think he is the most unique talent at the quarterback position because you can argue he has the best just raw arm in the NFL. He struggles with accuracy at times. I'm not denying that. But you combine his arm talent with his running ability. It really is unprecedented, you know. It's really the arm talent of John Elway meets the athleticism and build of Cam Newton in his prime. I mean, it is really unprecedented. So to see him go off in this game was really no surprise to me. The only realistic way the Steelers could have won this game was if Josh Allen had one of those nights where he just flamed out. And we've seen it happen. You know, I go back to week 1 of this season against the Jets where he was awful, single-handedly costed the Bills that game, throwing 4 interceptions. We were going to need a game like that from Josh Allen for the Steelers to realistically win this game, and he was perfect in this game. 0 picks, 3 touchdowns with his arm. We just talked about that one he had with his legs, a 52-yarder. He looked incredible in this game. So, yeah, it sucks to see your team get, obliterated like this as a Steelers fan. But again, I just didn't really have much hope going into this game, so it didn't upset me that much. And I felt like they did the best with what they could. I felt like they at least gave them a fight. Unlike the team we're going to talk about here, our other team in Pennsylvania, we're going to talk about them right now as we transition into the Buccaneers-Eagles game. Like I said, I predict Philly to win this game. I know they had a lot of issues going into this game, but I just kind of felt like they're a more talented team. They'll figure it out, and it turned out I was wrong. Jalen Hurts' numbers, you just look at Jalen Hurts' box stats or box score, whatever, and it looks like he had a decent game. Like, if you didn't watch the game and you just look at Jalen Hurts' stats, you're like, oh, he had an okay game. Like, he had, 67 completion percentage, 250 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions. But that does not reflect the style and the confidence that Hurts played with. He looked rattled the entire game. Like, he genuinely looked like he had zero confidence playing. Like, he looked like any time a rush came at him. Usually what makes Jalen Hurts so special is his ability to escape sacks, break sacks. He's been one of the best in the NFL at doing that. And felt like he just didn't have that in this game. He looked rattled anytime there was a remote amount of pressure. And I said this last night in that video about the Eagles. Like, the one thing you always expect for the Eagles is for their line to hold up. Well, no matter who they play, you expect their offensive line to hold up, and it's been a large reason why they've won multiple games. And their offensive line just looked terrible last night, which is, something I thought I'd never say, but it just didn't look good. Like, it felt like they were under pressure the entire game. Jason Kelce has since retired from the NFL, and it kind of makes sense because, I'm not putting it all on him, but the line as a whole was just really bad in that Bucs game. And the biggest part of that, as bad as the offense was, it doesn't compare to how god-awful the defense was for the Eagles. The defense was shameful. I mean, they had the Manning cast. If you watch that, they were talking to Ray Lewis, and Ray Lewis basically went on a big rant. You can look it up about how just shameful and embarrassing the Eagles defense played in that game. And he was 100% right because they couldn't tackle people. It's not like their coverages, their scheme was fine. That's not what it was. It was the personnel was just making too many boneheaded decisions, boneheaded plays and just rudimentary stuff that you should be practicing every day. Simple tackles they were blowing time after time in this game. And I have to credit this to the Buccaneers' game plan, which was incredible going into this game. They knew exactly how to exploit the Eagles' weakness, which was their secondary, and they roasted them alive. Baker Mayfield was incredible in this game. I can't remember exactly his stats. I want to say 300-something yards with 3 touchdowns and no picks, and he was pretty elusive in this game, getting out of the pocket. He was incredible. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Bucs offensive coordinator for his game plan in this game, exploiting the Eagles secondary, which was god-awful in this game. And, the Bucs, they're a pretty hot team now, and, I even said in my breakdown, they're better than their record. The amount of talent you have on this team. A lot of these guys that are on this team were on the Super Bowl team not that long ago. And Baker Mayfield is playing the best football of his career. You have a more than capable receiver core. This is a good team. This is a better team than 9-8. And they reflected that today with not only their play, but their game plan was masterful. So I give the Bucs a lot of credit for that. They exploited a really vulnerable Eagles team. I said the Eagles were the most vulnerable team going into the playoffs, and that turned out to be true. As for Nick Sirianni, I don't want to talk too much about him just because I'm going to make a separate video all on its own talking about him and what's going to happen with the Eagles going forward. But I'll just say this up front. I think he should be gone. I don't think he provides you any value because he doesn't call offensive plays. He doesn't call defensive plays. Before Steichen was the play caller, the offense was really stagnant. After Steichen left to go to the Colts, even whenever they were winning games this year, even when they were 10-1, the offense still looked off. Their point differential was the same as the New Orleans Saints. They were still winning games, but they just were nowhere near as explosive as they were in their Super Bowl year. I won't say too much about it, but I think he should be gone. I think it's run its course, and especially it'd be one thing if there were not that big of name candidates on the coaching market, but when you have guys like Jim Harbaugh, Bill Belichick, Mike Vrabel out there, you have to make an upgrade with the amount of talent on this team. We know how aggressive the GM Howie Roseman can be. So I do see the Eagles moving off Sirianni with how impatient the city and the organization can be. But that's overall just kind of been my take on these games. Did you watch these games? What were your thoughts? If you're a fan of any of these organizations, we especially want to hear from you in the comments. So if you made it this far, appreciate you listening. Please like and subscribe.